Come on, change. Okay, you don't mean that. All right, so here's the cervicals. So we got to get through the vertebrae. So you guys have something to look at tonight. Okay, so here's the names. Cervicals. There's 7 of them. They're the smallest. Those are your vertebrae up in your neck. C1 through C7. Smallest, small vertebral bodies. I got a, here. This is, I don't know which cervical this one is, but I know it's cervical. Barely, but I know it is. So this is cervical. See, it's got a teeny little body here. It's got a little hole there where the cord goes through. I know this isn't C1 or C2, but I'm not, it's probably like C4. But anyway, see, it's got a little body. It's got a hole in the center. It's got lamina. It's got pedicles. It's got little wing things here, the transverse process. It's got a spinous process. Everything's there. Lots of times they'll say that the vertebral frame, the little hole in the center, is kind of triangular shaped, but that, you know, there's easier ways to figure it out than that. This little thing, the spinous process, right here, in like some of the cervical vertebrae, it's you'll see a picture of it. It's kind of like forked at the end. It's called a bifid process. Not all of them have it, but they're the only ones that do. But the thing about the cervical vertebrae that you can tell it's cervical and nothing else, if you didn't know anything at all, is all the cervical vertebrae in the transverse processes, and this one's broken, but these transverse processes, don't drop it there. Out here, which kind of broken off, you just probably saw I dropped it. But anyway, in this transverse processes, all the cervical vertebrae, I'll show you one that's intact, they all got little holes in them. And those little holes are called transverse foramen. They're the only vertebrae that have these little holes. So if you see a light little vertebrae that's got a hole, pull out each one of these little wings, that's cervical. And the little holes have a function. That's where the vertebral artery runs through. You'll get that later. But now C1 and C2 have names. The only ones you got to kind of remember the names of. And here's a plastic C1, C2. And, oh, here. I'm going to stick my little thingy here right down through, no, it's not going to fit, you know, man. Anyway, it's in a little hole. It's in the transverse process of C1. All the cervical vertebrae have this little transverse fragment. All of them do. So if you can see a little hole, it's got a circle. All right. Now, this is C1, C2. So this C1, this is the superior articular facet of C1, and this articulates the occipital condyles of the occipital valve. Right? But and this is held together by like a little bit of elastic, and don't take it apart, okay, please. But if you look at this, and I'll show you a picture on the board in a second. Kind of, if I can pull this apart a little bit, you see it's just kind of a little round piece of bone. It's got some facets, that superior and inferior facets. It's got the hole in the transverse process. But it looks like it doesn't have a body. It doesn't. But if you look at C2, which is this next one down, that's called the atlas. This is the axis. This is the atlas. Yeah, this is the atlas, and this is the axis. Right? C2 has got this real big, pointy little finger of bone coming like straight up like that. Right? That's the missing body of C1. And it's got a name. And its name is the dens, D-E-N-S. Everybody always puts an E on there. I always call it the D-E-N-E-S. Whenever I ask that on a test, and I go, what's this little pointy structure of bone right here? And you know it's the dens. Right? Not everybody does it. But, you know, in a lab practical, it's like, name this little bony feature. Include bone name in your answer. I guess I can't ask that question now, right? Name this little bony feature here. Include bone name in your answer. All right? And you always put den, well, not always, but many people put dens, D-E-N-E-S, of C2. I usually don't count that wrong because it is C2, but it doesn't have an E in it. It's just D-E-N-S, dens. And when you look at it tonight, you'll understand why they call it the tooth. Because it looks like a tooth. Right? It's the missing body of C1. I don't know why it went missing, but it showed up on C2. We don't have any real, well, you know, I get some real ones, I don't know. Some of our intact cores might have good ones, but this is fine. So don't do this. Don't be stupid like that. Anyway. At City College years ago, I taught part-time down there, we had some real C1s and real C2s, and I was like doing something goofy one night, probably something like this.